You see it all the time, right? A brilliant startup idea, a super talented team, and they just fizzle out. They build and they code and they hustle, but somewhere along the way, that original vision just gets lost in this fog of technical debt and misaligned priorities. And this is especially true for this new wave of AI-first companies. Why? Well, because building with AI isn't like your typical software development. It's way more experimental, which means it's so much easier to go down these rabbit holes that, lead absolutely nowhere. So today, we're going to dive into a framework that's designed to prevent exactly that. So let me just ask you this. Is your startup haunted? I know it's a weird question, but it really gets to the heart of the matter. So many projects are plagued by these invisible forces, these ghosts in the machine that are just draining resources, killing momentum, and leading straight to burnout, way before the product ever gets a chance to see the light of day.
Now, of course, these aren't actual, supernatural ghosts. They're these insidious problems that pop up from a total disconnect between a great idea and how it actually gets built. So let's give these ghosts a name. Okay, first up, we've got ghost code. This is all that code that developers write based on some vague request, maybe an old idea, or honestly, just because it seemed cool at the time. It has no clear business purpose. You can't trace it back to a specific requirement, and it just silently bloats your entire code base, becoming an absolute nightmare to maintain.
And the other ghost in the machine is vision drift. This is what happens when the engineering team starts building features that, yeah, they're technically impressive, but they don't actually serve the core business goal. It's that classic case of the left hand having no idea what the right hand is doing, and it's almost always caused by skipping the foundational planning that keeps everybody aligned. So how in the world do you exorcise these ghosts from your startup? Well, that is exactly where the FORGE framework comes in. Think of it as a system designed from the ground up to be a ghostbuster for AI-first companies. The entire framework is built on this one really powerful belief. This right here, this is the core philosophy. Code without a business requirement is technical debt. It's not a feature, it's a liability. Every single line of code has to justify its existence with clear, undeniable business value, period. So FORGE, it stands for Foundational Organization and Requirement Generation Engine, and its one and only mission is to create a direct, unbreakable link between that business vision and the technical execution, making sure nothing, and I mean nothing, gets built without a clear, documented why. The framework itself operates on 5 core principles. Now, these aren't just, suggestions. They are the guiding philosophy that shapes every single decision, from the highest level strategy all the way down to a single line of code. They're basically the guardrails that keep your project on track and stop the ghosts from ever showing up in the first place. Okay, this first principle is an absolute game changer for AI-first companies. It's called the agent-first rule. See, traditionally, we write documentation for other human developers. But in an AI-driven startup, your documentation has to be so structured and so clear that AI agents can actually read it, understand the requirements, and even write code based on it. Your docs literally become the API, the instruction manual for your automated workforce. And this brings us to the most critical policy of all, the anti-ghost policy. This is the practical, boots-on-the-ground enforcement of that no-ghost code principle. The rule is simple and it is absolute. If a line of code exists, you have to be able to trace it back to a specific, verifiable requirement. No exceptions. So how does that actually work in practice? Well, it's a simple but really powerful 3-step chain. First, every feature or task gets a unique requirement ID and essential document called the registry. Second, every single code commit related to that feature must include that ID. And third, that requirement has to have a corresponding test to prove it's been met. That's it. Requirement, code, test. It's an unbreakable chain. And here's what that looks like in the real world. A developer is working on an authentication feature and they prefix their commit message with its unique ID, in this case, FRAuth001. Instantly, anyone or any AI agent can see exactly why this code was written and what business purpose it serves. It's so simple, but it is absolutely revolutionary for project clarity. The other principles just reinforce this discipline. Sequential integrity basically means you can't skip steps. You have to move logically from vision to requirements to code. Build the foundation before you put up the walls. Graphics as code means that all your system diagrams and flowcharts are actually written in code using tools like Mermaid. This is so crucial because it lets your AI agents not only read your docs, but also understand and even update your architectural diagrams.
And finally, the AI-first principles just mandate that you use data-driven evaluations over gut feelings, making sure your AI is actually doing its job effectively. Okay, so now that we get the guiding philosophy, let's move on to the practical application, the 7-document blueprint. If the principles are the why, then this blueprint is the how. It's a sequential workflow that takes you all the way from a back-of-the-napkin idea to daily tasks for your team, all without losing the plot.
The workflow is made up of these 7 documents, and each one has a really distinct purpose. It all starts with the Constitution. That's the soul of your company, and it flows all the way down to tasks, which are those tiny atomic units of work your team gets done every single day. You can see right here how each document builds on the last one, creating that unbreakable chain from vision to execution. You start with the Constitution, defining your non-negotiables. That then informs your specifications and business model, which in turn dictates your technical architecture. From there, you generate your verifiable requirement IDs in the registry. That's your single source of truth. The validation document defines how you'll prove each requirement works. The roadmap strategically sequences them. And finally, tasks breaks them down into daily work for your team. The really crucial takeaway here is that you just can't jump to writing code without this rock-solid foundation. So why go through all this trouble? I mean, what's the big payoff? The benefit isn't just about having clean code. It's about building a resilient, focused, and maybe most importantly, a fundable company. By following the FORGE process, you naturally produce all of these artifacts that are incredibly valuable, especially if you're looking for funding or trying to get into a top-tier accelerator like Y Combinator. You automatically generate your founder market fit statement, you get hard metrics on your AI's performance, a clear data flywheel strategy, and a user growth roadmap that is directly tied to your technical execution. I mean, for investors, this is gold. It shows them that you're not just building a product, you're building a well-thought-out, disciplined business. You're building a totally compelling investment case.
And that really brings us to the final, crucial question you should be asking yourself and your team. Go on, look at your repository, look at your project boards. Is every line of code you're writing actively building a business, or is it just creating more ghosts to haunt you down the road?